Hello, welcome to Segue Live at 5 featuring Filip Marinovich and Joey Yearous-Algozin. Um, we're in the woods right now.
Not all.
I don't feel safe here, but Ian's here to protect me. Thank God. Yeah, can you believe we're back again? It's the third week already.
I can't believe it. Third week. Who knew?
We're hurtling towards our end.
Yeah, but we're right. I mean, third week, we're like in the prime of our Segway run right now. This is like, these are the halcyon.
We've crossed the first trimester, I think.
This is getting weird. I'm very excited about this reading, aren't you, Tasso?
Yeah, I'm totally excited. I've wanted to hear Filip and Joey read together for, what is it, 20 years now?
At least 30 for me.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say 40, but I didn't want to outdo you.
That's kind of you.
Yeah. That was Keith Mansfield's Morning Broadway. Do we need to say anything before I introduce Filip? You saw the donation banner. You've seen it before. You'll see it again. And there it is in the chat. Please throw some dough to our pizza makers tonight, our poetry topping pizza makers.
Throw them some dough and throw them some cheese.
Throw them some daya. Please.
I think the only other thing to say is that you're Tasso, I'm Ian. We are half of the hosting team bringing Segue to people, and then unseen but very much making it happen are Izzy Dow and Sarah O'Connell, the artist space technical geniuses who make it possible to transmit poetry via the internet.
Absolutely. They're the wizards of these woods behind me, for sure. So we appreciate them.
Okay, so why don't I mute myself and we get started?
Sure. I guess I don't need to pay attention to that. Okay. All right. Filip Marinovich. It's been a long time coming, but I'm finally going to introduce you, my poetry stepfather, my brutal poetry my evil poetry stepmother, who has, yeah, whatever. This starts off with a bit. Oh my gosh, thank you for giving me every poetry word all at once. I've been looking forward to this day for so long now, and I'll accept the National Book Award and Poetry Book Circle Award and the CLMP Award. Yep, my life is pretty awesome. You're probably wondering how I got here. Well, I'd have to go back in time around when I first moved to a little place I call New York City. You see, I didn't really know anything about poetry back then. Sure, I had written some things here and there, but nothing that really felt like me, I guess. I was at an MFA, and well, I think you get the idea. But then a friend of mine said, have you heard of Motley College, taught by the poet Filip Marinovich? Filip Marinovich. Philip, as in Phil, as in filial, connoting the fullness of child's love, or philios, as in a suckling, close but different from philare, to suck. Or Phil, as in philia, from the Greek, meaning fondness or loving. Philip. Lip, as in the lip, the edge or margins of mouth, typically one of two, which can be moved in such a way with airflow from the lungs to create a sound and distort it into various phonemes, fun memes, pheromone nomenclatures, love of the lips, twin sibling or suckling of poetics. Marinovich, as in Marin, as in the sea. Ovi, as in ovum, egg, or ovis, sheep, both ovular shaped gentle beings, both having to do with covering, warmth, protection, growth. The egg and its shell, and the sheep with its wool. Also, we could think of Ovid's Oceanic Epic, where its protagonist hides under a sheep. Finally, ich, as in the one, ending on the counting at the end, beginning again. Ich bin ein marine oval, the one holy sphere of Oceanus. Both names together then, fondness, suckling, love lips, margin, ocean egg, sheep, unity, loving lips procuring the oceanic one. Marinovich's is the poetry of the heavenly flood. We could then imagine the egg as the moon, co-conspirator of the ocean, and lunarly inclined werewolfian subtle body, which, from that first Motley College meeting, tore open the corpse of poetry to let loose radiant forms of love and language all at once. Without Filip, I would not be in love, nor would I have ever made contact with poetry. His teaching, which I am not separating from his poetry, shows these to be in some ways the same, perhaps in all ways, as he deftly spins Shakespeare prolepsis, Steinian digestional erotics, topped with fresh Bashoian seasonings, into a fresh, never frozen Dzogchen jazzercise Horiatiki salata, which in Greek means village salad. Marinovich is the only poet I know to not just keep up with, but surpass the speed of scrolling. His writing, composed on the scrolls of true erudition, which he will sing forth in an iPhone email draft amidst city walks like a mad Fortune 500 CEO, is pure acceleration, so much so that it hovers in peaceful stillness, like a dakini cutting through deceptions, postures, or pretensions about what it means to talk about or be poetry. Occupy, Odin overdose, and erections all wheel throughout his work as he makes Finnegan's Wake and Spring and All look like sequels. For instance, in looking for a quote to append here, the first page I flipped to in his recent, The Suitcase Tree, A Disappearing Act, says this, and this is from @Veselka. Is that an aggressive thing to say, James Joyce? Oh, dear me, these vibes and jeans. Have you felt the sun? Have you ever and won? You can't win with a losing hand, Bob Dylan sang, and the losing hand seems to be death. Hangman Hamlet, bang Sergeant, Gambalot, shat a dice pair onto the digits of the driver on the speed course. The world hit the lotto and cashed out with Filip Marinovich, and his golden love luckiness spills onto all whom he comes into contact with through his teleprosometrical poetics. Filip Marinovich wrote 4 poetry epics, 0 readership, and If You Don't Go Crazy, I'll Meet You Here Tomorrow, Wolfman Librarian, and The Suitcase Tree. The first 3 are available from Ugly Duckling Press and the 4th from the Operating System. Filip is currently at work on the 5th movement, Fugue State Beach. He teaches the traveling poetry seminar Shakespearean Motley College, now in its emergency response formation in cyberspace. So put your warm paws, affiliated digits together for the speed queen herself, Marinovich, on top of Old Smoky, all covered in non-dairy nut cheese. I lost my poor meatball in some fellow's knees. Filip.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Tasso. Thanks, everybody. Am I audible and everything? Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, I'll just start. I'm going to read from this new manuscript. As Tasso said, it's called Fugue State Beach. Bill's snowdrops. Why am I so hot? I take my sun hat off the full moon. Bill's snowdrops. Why am I so hot? I take my sun hat off the full moon. Twinship. Twins lie and hide and keep family uninvented. Twins lie and love each other and keep civilization uninvented giving us time to escape before it becomes a viral wave. Twins fuck and hide and preserve the species when everyone dies. Someone hunting us, the beach. We the twins hide in the dunes and lie together, and no one is able to kill us because we lie enough to hide, marooned, exiled from New York friends, eating the bitter bread, banishment and vanishment, and oranges for vitamin C to survive the plague by storytelling, to survive making love with the dunes. Humanity survives because twins lie and hide and lie together and eye each other across the great divide of life and life and life and life and life, 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 and I. I and my twin are I and my twin are eyes. I and my twin are up in each other, waiting out the plague, burning it away with our eye ducts, dunes. While everyone is looking for us, we refuse to make war on you. We are birthing twins to keep humanity populated. When everyone else in their sane marriages have each other killed, we the loving twins remain to survive your new normal genocidal thrills. AIDS to COVID, the condoms became rooms, apartments, houses. It used to be life-threatening to have sex. Now it's life-threatening to live twins. Late hands and eyes. The best thing my hands do is give Cecilia a back rub every night right now. My palms do not have eyes in their centers, but lifelines, heart lines. I don't know palmistry. I know if Cecilia dies, I will too. Those are the eyes. My immigrant dad. My immigrant dad takes his victory lap around the dementia track, rabbit watching. It takes two to make an evening of it, and I'm just full of a stupid thoughts bandit. Why am I so beautiful? Stick to the shade, but that's only one step away from the stone and sandal marinade promenade. The sound waves don't sound so good today. Your methods have become unsound, oh my Colonel Sound. The father has gone away, but what remains is the PTSD postmaster of Potsdamer plots and post-damnation plots in one cemetery plot of Rem kiosk. Better ram it while it's hot. My flesh is all you've got. Cut it up into a blouse since you're Buffalo Bill, the seamster teamster out of plot. Improvise a lot. Change your name to Jim so you can Jimprovise with the Falcon polyglot on the balcony of Night Rot. That's Sir Corpse and fertilizer friends of impermanence lionizer with complementary ionizer for air quality reversals can stop rehearsals if not attended to with the proper golf club raised against the welkin blade. You fight a log. Now you don't have to. The forest arranges itself into log cabin shape. Into the cool of the library with you and drink your grape. The 12 of us from interview were birthing ourselves anew. The incoherences crept upon us. We were resigned to indolence negligees that slipped over our wooden, burnt at the edges frames and walked over the twilight, quite unable to shut up about it. But the woodshed was well along in its construction by then. You told me I was the coolest, so I believed it. Licorice of the bulls is what it looked like when you said it, the air between us and between our mobile phones with all their motivating tissue inside, synthesized by suicides we will never see, but who move between and beneath our fingertips into the evening. The library is almost closing always. How to survive, to make a fire, to mail a fire to a friend and let him warm by it. The frost around the whip tips of mountains comes down to greet the ship, not as a melt, but a walking welt from a wound received in the tattletale battle of Belscar. That was back when we invented our motivations far from home and then came home to Medusas to turn ourselves to stone. With one Mr. Medusa glance in the mirror, the meds all fled from our bloodstreams and ended up in the kindly surveilling Lieutenant River Kid. That was when Mars Hour entered and severed heads from the chopping block moment. My distant conversation partner left the hall. He stood in the kitchen half-light of the Dan Canyon and said to Mom, "This is one of those days when I hate everything I read." Rifling through the pages at the table, wooden wagon wheel of a bedchamber table of the round Jocasta fable. "I have those too," Mom said as she pegged him in the ass with her fluorescent pink incandescent wand of a prostate massage lightning rod. The clouds moved in. They fell over. "You don't need a hurricane, just come over. You don't need a hurricane, just come over." Nuts, nuts, nuts. There's no moderation in me. What can we say to see? Excuse me, I can't help shrinking. Give me pill bags, Daddy, give me pill bags, give me Daddy pill bags. After prescription begging, I slept with Howard. He looked to me and he said, "How hard can you be? You woke up in my mouth so naturally." And I said, Howard, can't you see your white fur cannot clothe me? Your white fur cannot clothe me. So what is it doing down around my knees? Howard said, "Get out of my bed because we need some conflict on this generic thread." He throws me out of his bed and I land with a thud in the early frost buds and roll through the poppy bloods of Arles, because I'm Van Gogh Charles. And here's the crows, and here's the red crows, red sunset grows. There my head goes into the self-pity undertow, into the DILF pity undertow. Because you know, I'm a DILF. Yeah, that's dad I'd like to fuck. Because I aged so well and that's just my luck. And now you can lick me all you want because I sweat grenadine and my bourbon beard is mean. But it flows so gallantly into your throat, and now you suck the gators from a castle moat. So mote it be, my hotel king. So Howard said to me in his dream, which I received while walking from sleeping between two griffins. I was lucky, lucky, lucky Pierre right between them, for the light came like Irene's sleeper train through the night. Yes, the light came like Irene's sleeper train through the blight, and it cured the crops and made us bottoms and tops so healthy with each other, and the loving never stopped. And the loving never stopped us ever from moving on from each other. Yes, the lighting never stopped us from moving into darker weather for the unknown thrill of it, for the wake-up pill of it, for the white elephant hills of no knowing it. And the loving never stopped us ever from moving on from each other. We can sever our bond because we must be getting on. And the getting on gets up from us and it leaves town on a bus. And we'll never see each other again because absence is our best friend. And you can't see life again when death is your nest egg. And you can't see life again when death is your nest egg. From the afterlife of opulence. I knew my body was in the bed all night. I'm fishing for feeling good about being vaccinated to supplement my pricking experience, followed by tense, optimistic delusions of becoming an optometrist overnight in white, tight, stretch glitter pants by Freddie Mercury from the afterlife of opulence. I zone in and have a chance. Basically, yeah, I know the conglomerate of vaccine jets streaking through the sound barrier popcorn pushed out into June or July. Now that I've gotten my first dose at the White Tent Dosage Hotel Bender Soirée du Capitaine Midnight, I ran upstairs. Philip was meditating in the bedroom. I'm so grateful the state can now track me by satellite. Since last night, I can communicate with squirrel, badger, crocodile. I was immunized by Johnson baby shampoo before any of this happened. The blood clots never got to me because my professors tenured Johnson's so deep in my throat, it feels like an extension of it. Though to me, it feels like breathing and breeding in one bell swing of the nearby church steeple. I practice social distancing with the future cathedral of Our Lady of Nomenclature, where Notre Dame once stood in its sketchbook dawn of mauve leper colony window shades drawn. Ithaca, 1979. My brother is born Alexander Marinovich. No middle name. Serbs don't have them, even if they are Serbian American. I am given a new brother sticker to wear on my blue Oshkosh overalls with my bowl cut, and everybody thinks I'm a girl. I wish they still did. I am. I swear it. Ithaca, New York, on the Finger Lakes, in gray grad student housing, every apartment attached to every other, and all of us caterpillaring through the green caterpillar blood mist rising off sidewalks, so that my friends and I, most of them older, sit in a circle at the pet cemetery just outside, the back sliding glass doors, and wait to hear the snakes slither through the ivy stone-to-stone carpeting. Later, I find out this is when I was elected by my ancestors to be the lightning rod of their ongoing existence. Electric as Tesla pacing his New York hotel room, 18 stories up, and hearing the horse hooves scrape and clip-clop through Bryant Park until his eardrums popped open and bloomed peonies throughout the blood substratum, throughout the glacial deposit strata of epileptic schist-fit Manhattan. Inter-rabbit oath. Introjection, rabbit. Where have you introjected off to? So deep in me, I can't see you. I'm right here, but you can't see. So angry at yourself. Until you find your rabbit ears sheared off by fog scissors, I'll be here and we'll sew them back together. Remarkable alcohol. I sure could use a chilled glass of geographical corn. Who asked you? I demand a carbonated bourbon dock to fish off. I will have the delicious and healthy glass of red full moon. Come down and put a glow dome over your head so you can hear the voices take a crowbar to the stardust sour mash. At least my liver doesn't hurt anymore. Who cares if I think I'm a bore? The father sleeps through his own son's funeral. The baby says I buried it under the corn husks. Quick cures know you at a cellular vermouth level. Your wounds know you better. Beautiful little chat box gash across the forehead, popping with oracular messages of scissor paper strip jizz. When I could drink, I could converse with the will of the dive bar, where the red spray paint heart purrs on. Hide bottles in every bag and corner, and they are never found, but they find you in the pain fountain of their pouring, vegetables out of nowhere, zucchini grown enormous. From mom's backyard garden, the skunk slides through, and Sonny the dog is buried close by, but the children in this family walk dead alive, screaming from next door and ordinariness, no neighbors, but blood relatives. And the blood inside you goes out for a beer and comes back with an acoustic guitar for the back porch, strumming till the deer snacking on hostas disappear, and the youth hostels close for COVID, behind see-through map of the world shower curtains. Cow globe. When you get out of the shower and dry off and then start to cry because you just thought of Marisol and you playing keyboard and acoustic guitar respectively, and you don't want to get wet with tears because you just toweled off, but the tears stream down even faster and choke you in your sycamore tree throat, planted in a soil square in pavement for its adaptability and endurance. And where, anyway, is the Virgo interferometer? And has anybody seen one yet? And how many mirrors would I have to hold to mimic one and pick up gravitational waves from an unknown source in space? And isn't space-time right here too now? So aren't Marisol and I playing music once again and jamming and sending our own gravitational atonal sound sheets out right now back to the stars from whence we came? And aren't there alien friends digging us even now who can't wait to meet us when we blow this cow globe? Not explode it, just go with a kiss and know that is not in any way any of that happening right now. It so happens you are alone in a white t-shirt and no pants, and bare feet make a raft. You drift on to bed, and it's 8:37 a.m. And if you wake up in 7 hours, you can still go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and see Marisol's painting hanging of you and her giggling in a high up loft bed in a painter's studio she house sat, and not kiss once the whole night, because we love other people. We love the same man, though only one of us still speaks to him regularly. And it's not because I didn't try to bed him. I did, and he rightly refused, so we could still be best friends 3 decades later, as my beard and his head go completely gray, silver, shaking. And if you put my facial hair and his spiky bangs together, you'd get daylight camouflaged by the fog train, now derailing off the orange top of the long Brontosaurus spine bridge over the Pacific and the Golden Gate Peace Kids. The whole foliage is a fox drum beating to be reborn a fox. The whole foliage is a fox drum beating to be reborn a fox. Earth Day 2021. Household, house held, parking lot of Mice the Cat Church, from off angle and kerpunctuated. In the punctum helmet, the opera was decided. I was never there for the finale. Even now, with the house empty, the concentration feels canned, as if the cannery row of my corpses parade by the assembly line, where the thoughts are canned in their ground lamb state and shipped to the nutmeg state, where I practice now in this triage household madness. And my friends say you need to leave, and there's nowhere to go. The plague ate my apartment and temporarily my courage, though that grows back stronger and pushes me to care for my ailing, demented parents deep into their 7th childhoods, screams at the tops of staircases, exercising up and down the steps, step counting into death. The household eats itself. I eat this bowl of chili and see in it the chiliocosms that brought me here, and say thank you for all of it. Before resuming my sleepwalk through trauma curtains, if wound is all you see here, you haven't been paying attention to the ecstasy to be here at all, with the received and invented languages both, the trinaural soundings out of the kitchen void, with wagon wheel table turning for 3 ears. The loom table spins its yarn story tapestry without anyone to turn it. So you sit down and impersonate the turner and become the turner. And yes, I'm a turner now. I'm you, and you are my friend, not concerned with whether or not I leave the murderous household, just that I can send you hot postcards from it and emails from internet cafes on the Corfu coast and Savory Island off Vancouver, and wherever the next stop is on this fugue interstate tour of errancy, and all the letters that need to be delivered to friends to say, we're both new people, and I look forward to learning your new language and you mine when we strip down in a bath and stare at each other in all our real unmasked strangeness, and tongue to tongue teach each other the nouns and how to get out of them with action, which we demonstrate to each other. One wet dance step after another and another. The bath bubbles pop and we take the shampoo top off and pour champagne into each other's mouths and baptize each other in imagination sauce. Only oozes out of our hands when we practice, making bird shapes out of them, and the calls come through our throats without throwing our voices, just you and me in this bathtub flying above burning rainforests. We turn it over and douse them and put the fires out with our bathwater, our flight, our fall down through the canopy to greet the toucans and learn their transmigration calls to their ancestor cousins, future, past, and present, because we know there's no next life, but this next minute of flight down into the conflagration, where we'll hold hands to put the flames out and make the photosynthesis come back and rebirth us as the plants we already are, swaying from the roots drenched with late April storm, and the basement doesn't flood because of the tarp stretched across its storm basement doors, but we do flood. We are tarpless and strapless and flying through the rainforests to return lungs to the earth. Chop. Chopping as you go, dragon in the sun, silhouette health will come. Chopin gas, you go out into the planets. You heard that one already. Don't privilege it. Throw it away. The throwaway enthronedness, play the wind. I star as the wind in this play. There's no curtains. Wound curtains spread out the window. Breadscape head, crumbs, crumb cake kingdom, thrums, thrum blossoms. April snow throughout New England North and upstate New York. I haven't drank alcohol in 1 year and change, nor has it been eating my brain. But here is my savior, partner, husband in her hat, 2 hats, sun hat on top of winter cap, in a state of undress, ready for class, but the class is not ready for her. She's already thinking ahead of them, untying her laces as her laces untie her, from kitchen edge to wolf den to upstairs study. The crow punctures with his silent landing, followed by guffaw chain echoing in your head, but not the crow. The crow is not here for you to ventriloquize. You are not the crow's dummy. The voices throw themselves out of you, but impersonate no wooden personage with pocket filled with conductor hand. There's nobody in your back. There's you with action taking the first Friday steps out of the morning kitchen stress test into the magnolia gallows of pink April snow, where there still isn't a law against lynching. America, the pathetic, insane, and law hypnotized. The ground will be ripped out of itself until everybody is free, even if nobody is left to enjoy it then, and then we'll meet at the park bench and play a duet on our plastic red recorders, rescued from the drawers of our classroom desks, riddled with bullet holes, guaranteeing the defenestration of the delusional blood greed view king of freedom. It's not going to stick, but it will stick. Our new legislation. It is sticking. We will push it through the courts. Stack them against us however you can. Freedom comes with or without a planet to land. Friendship Quartet. 1, phone call from a junk number. Stops the music cold. I get out of the shower to turn it back on and slip out of my skin into the slipstream with Van Morrison and wonder what Matt Lipman's doing in Massachusetts right now, just 3 hours north of me. Wish I could visit him. Will I ever be able to visit one friend again in this skin before I have to shed it again and again in the woodshed of the blown out nervous system body with the various rusting saws on its front? Hanging by hooks, I want to cut that front off and replace it with a big friend face. Hey, big sunflower friend face bumblebee, pollinate me. Come on, pollinate and pollinate and pollinate and pollinate me free. 2, today, I don't know how I will impersonate my father when I become him. I mean, forget how to speak as in frontotemporal lobe dementia. I mean, like as if you know, and 2, also the feeling of witness I am addressed, and undressing myself of my nightgown of Russian dressing for your pleasure. For your thighs only, my Rosen Cavalier, bony frame, masculine football player with mask and helmet on at once. As when this morning I didn't yet feel like talking and you stood in this kitchen asking me questions. from an interrogation book, right and fitting, a manual to lure the man out of me, though I've extinguished that tonality totally, or so I think. But what will I do when I can't talk like my father now, with the gestures waving and thumbs up and laughing, and incapable of uttering a word from the television cage room where me and him wrestle over the remote when it's broken, and I replace the batteries he's been licking as if they were lollipops after a trip to the dentist's office. Oh, Pops, don't you know we look like spreaders of smallpox? Though our ancestors lived Ottoman Turkish slaves 5 centuries, it matters not now. Take off your white skin, Philip, and slip into a suit of silver fur and howl all you want your Wolfman night away. But come morning, you have to face how you're perceived, who you pass as, and address that. I'm as queer as the ass of Michelangelo's David sleeping in the marble. In fact, it is my pillow where I sleep in the quarry at Ithaca and erupt into human figure, fully gay and loving women and men equally as they pass before my bed and disappear now in their array of masks. Here comes one lover with a sunflower face, and I pluck it out as he offers it and see the soil and root system where I will replant myself to survive these infernally agoraphobic pandemic days and emerge gay as the found sculpture studio garage, now accumulating junk towers of dollhouse splendor and glamour that can only be found with friends in mid-kiss and spark, spark, spark of the flint lips friendship is. 3. Friendship, a triptych. I think I'll write it to you if I can find the words to what is now a birdie with the screen door flapping its guns at me. What are you talking for? Why are you shooting me? My own house? Because I'm not yours. Come out of me and talk to the daffodils you leveled with your soccer game earlier. You score a goal and the flowers die, and here you are making dinner out of sky, frying it or drying it. Why is your tongue in the oven? Do you bake it and bread it? And I wag it until something comes out I didn't expect, and then I pet that until it becomes my pet, my familiar, and I get witchy with the floor mop and fly off with the whole floor, liberating the house from its wall-to-wall blood carpeting dolor. 4, it's been a long time since I walked to the walking sticks and up and out through the woods trail where the coyotes now are raising their cubs and will raise me from my foundation if I get too close, which I won't. Even though I had 5 doses of rabies vaccine last fall and 1 for COVID now, why am I a vaccine buddy to myself? Because there's no one else here. So I must be talking to the top hat I just punched a hole through. Is my fist the rabbit? Is it Abraham Lincoln's or a birthday magician's? I don't remember the last time I saw a top hat, though they walk through my room now with no bodies attached. They belong to tall blonde people I can't see, except for the eyelashes they shed while walking up the side of the sun, now facing the earth and crossing the sunspots the solar flares shoot from, and entering Corona College and exiting crispy ash I already am. So what really is there to fear of this blistered time span hand? Thank you.
I gotta clap closer to my AirPods. Can you hear that? Thank you, Philip, for all of those chiliocosms, making each ingredient of the chiliocosm sing this afternoon. Sound off in the chat, ye attendees. We're gonna take a 5-ish minute break where we're gonna post the intermission screen with donation information. You're gonna hear a tune, and then we're gonna get underway with the rest of the reading where Ian will introduce Joey. So stick tight, and thank you, Philip, very much. Please donate to the readers. Yes.
We're on. We're back. This is all happening. I'm gonna have a drink. That was amazing, Philip. Thank you so much. Yeah, the Lucky Pierre, between that and the Marie Buck's book, The Lucky Pierre is having quite a moment in poetry. Yeah, just wanted to say real quick before we get to the next reader, if you did not chip in your $5, despite the exhortation of that colorful intermission screen, please do so. Please do so. The money goes directly into the hardworking pockets of these hardworking poets. And with that, I think it is time to introduce Joey Yearous-Algozin, which I'm going to do with sophisticated audio-visual tools made possible by the internet. That's right, get ready. But they'll come up, there's a time for them. So here we go. The one thing that I didn't put in my introduction, but that I love to mention whenever Joey's name comes up, is that Joey and I are, I'm sorry, Joey, because you don't want me to say this right now, but Joey and I are like 8 days apart in age. And for some reason, I'm like obsessed with this fact. It doesn't mean much, but it is true. Yeah, Joey's like 8 days older. That's why I have such a youthful exuberance. All right, I didn't need to say it at the segue reading. I'm sorry. It's just trivia. Put it in our Wikipedia pages. It's a lot of pressure writing one of these introductions every single week, but I feel more at ease than usual writing an intro for Joey Yearous-Algozin because I see him so much as a figure of permission. Trollthread, the publishing collective Joey co-founded in 2010 with Holly Melgard, Chris Sylvester, and Divya Victor, has released books by authors including C.A. Conrad, Tricia Lowe, Joseph Kaplan, Diana Hamilton, Mark Johnson, Lawrence Giffen, Louis Friedman, Orchid Tierney, Anna Vitale, and many others, as well insistently as Trollthread's 4 members themselves. All of these books are available via the Trollthread Tumblr as free downloads or cheap print-on-demands through Lulu. Joey's 2016 Trollthread book, How to Stop Worrying About the State of Publishing When the World's Burning Anyways and All You Really Care About Is If Anyone Is Even Reading Your Work, is a 3-page poem that consists entirely of a set of instructions to publish a book in the style of Trollthread, ending with the lines, "Good, now do it again." Joey himself has described Trollthread as, quote, inserting itself into the stream of data, a non-systematization with regards to the economies of scale, contrasting this with a more antiquated productive model based on the idea of managing data. In much of Joey's writing, I think, attempts to disentangle the social networks and digital processes through which writing is produced from those by which it is distributed and socially valued are joyously deflated. Publication, besides the labor of editing and book design, becomes a more direct matter of catalyzed encounter outside habituated streams that may not be meaningful. His 2013 Trollthread book, Real Kill List, consists of a series of screen grabs of Facebook threads in which poets respond to Joseph Kaplan's kill list, their comments ranging from Ryan X asking, "Is this another joke I have to be rich to get?" to Wah Win describing the work with the sentence, "It was a cow pie." By positing itself as the real kill list, Joey's poem takes everyone involved at their word, opening kill list as a platform and reading the conversation it engendered as a permission to redraw the partitions of the poetic around it, perforating the membrane between subject and content as it is perforated constantly by the myriad cybernetic interpolations that trellis our daily lives. This is to say there is a kind of realism here, one that seems to outflank many of the interpretive uncertainties by which Kill List burned a hole in everyone's butt, implicating that text's absent speaker or enumerator through a collaged chorus of specialized critique. It's the kill list of kill list, which presumably is what makes it so real, despite the fact that there's nothing real about it. The last comment in Real Kill List is from Marcella Durant, who says, "I'm looking forward to the Chris Burden show at the New Museum instead." Presumably she means instead of reading Joseph Kaplan, but I think Joey Yearous-Algozin shares a lot with Chris Burden. I'm reminded especially of Full Financial Disclosure, a 30-second TV spot Burden made and his gallery paid to have aired 30 times on primetime TV in 1977. Okay. Almost there. Oh, this is confusing me. Okay.
In keeping with the bicentennial spirit, the post-Watergate mood, and the new atmosphere on Capitol Hill, I would like to be the first artist to make a full public financial disclosure. My gross income for 1976 was $17,210. My business expenses total $16,156. This left me with a net profit for 1976 of $1,054. Thank you.
Just gotta find, where did I put it? Sorry. Like so much of Joey's work, the commercial inserts itself into the stream of data non-systematized with regards to the economies of scale, hijacking networked modes of mass communication to disperse not so much a message as a packet of deroutinizing disruption, endlessly amused at the spectacle of larger systems' attempt to recapture it. In the same spirit, I think much of Joey's writing is like an antithesis pill you can take to increase your pleasure as the red and blue internet continually strains to reassimilate you. In the writing that forms his new book, A Feeling Called Heaven, forthcoming from Nightboat this summer, Joey escapes to a kind of pastoral role. Pastoral in the sense both that he adopts a sort of power religious tone in ushering us towards the human extinction he finds inevitable, and in the sense that he conceives a biosphere finding ways to thrive in the absence of humans. In the poem, Joey acts as a kind of apocalypse doula, rejecting all hope of defeating the forces that drive ecological collapse in favor of patient resignation to them. He writes, "There's little to be done now except love and embrace the silence of our impending destruction as a species, one that was offered the gift of consciousness through accident or divine fiat and has done little with it besides lessen our own suffering over thousands of years, i.e. the bar was so low and desire so brutal. For there's little to be done now but to await our own destruction as we spend this time together in the presence of each other. This patience then is really all that's necessary, and not to preach or say how the world could be better. It can't be better." While the tone here is clearly different from, say, screen grabs of angry poets on Facebook, this is still writing that concerns itself with the social ecologies of meaning and the possibilities of supplementing dominant signals with productive blessed noise. In this sense, I think it's vintage Joey. Joey Yearous-Algozin is a poet, publisher, and teacher living in Brooklyn. His most recent book, A Feeling Called Heaven, is out this fall from Nightboat. Other books include The Lazarus Project, Utopia, and Holly Melgard's Friends and Family, co-authored with Holly Melgard. He is a founding member of the publishing collective Troll Thread. Please make him feel at home.
It should be easy because I am at home. Yeah. Hi, thank you, Ian. That was wonderful. And thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm just going to read from the book that Ian mentioned, Feeling Called Heaven. I'm going to read the first couple of pages and then like a big section in the middle. And the book ends with a closing meditation. And I'm just going to read that also. So now you know the game plan. We're all on board. There's no catching up. We're here together. Okay. Yeah, so let's just get started, shall we? And then as always, I got my co-pilot locked and loaded. You see that guy over there? Cran. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I'll get started. All right, so this is A Feeling Called Heaven. I wanted to show you something that would give you pleasure before the end of the world. I thought I'd play you a video of antelope or deer moving as a herd across an expanse of green grass, shot from the door of a helicopter, flying in unison with the animals below, as the repurposed foundation for the death of this planet in X number of years. For there's nothing to be done now but love and embrace the silence of our impending destruction as a species, offered the gift of consciousness through accident or divine fiat, and has done little with it, but slightly lessened the suffering of a few, i.e. the bar was so low and desire so brutal. There's nothing to be done now but to await our own destruction in the presence of each other. This patience, then, is really all that's necessary. I'm not saying how the world could be better. It can't be better. A better world isn't possible, but patience is possible. Meditation on a few moments of intense deprivation, on all that's left, this impoverishment we've been given, ecstatic reduction, or a feeling called heaven that speaks to itself of nothing but a final annihilation that arrives quietly, though it remains perhaps forever in the distance. I wanted to show you something that would remind you of a time in your life before we came together, as a way of finding some trace of pleasure or happiness in the presence of each other. This is not a rejection of the world, but a radical acceptance of our own impoverishment that allows us to welcome passivity as a way of reducing both the mind and body to the minimal frequency necessary to maintain this place we now occupy together as we wait for the true end of the world, which is already here, and yet has only just begun. An end that began without us, but because of us, and now no longer needs us, as it makes its way slowly through each and every one of us and each and every successive generation. I want you to allow this feeling called heaven, which is little more than a recognition of our presence here together, an acknowledgement that we're not outside the world, and yet nothing's demanded of us, to create a modicum of calm and stability, sitting here in the company of each other, because the world is dying, at least for us. We've made it an inhospitable place for us, and yet there's pleasure to be found in the beginning of the end of the world. As you sit listening to my voice, I want you to think of this time to come as a promise. Once our species' short timeline has reached its end, what is left will rebuild itself. Our existence, a scar written across its surface, which in time will fade, as when your vessel or vehicle records an error in physical movement, as it brushes against the unyielding world beyond it, forming an area of fibrous tissue that replaces your once soft and supple skin. Say, as you wash dishes for a friend and their partner, who were kind enough to let you stay with them, out of obligation, no matter how pleasant, that preserves the bond built before your visit, that now only needs this occasional maintenance in the form of physical proximity. And so while they're out buying food for dinner, you want to do something nice for them. Show them something you learned as a child, that these minor gestures are what constitute a family. And you want them to know, even unconsciously, that you think of them as family. But when you place your hand in an empty jar, the pressure from the rag and warm soapy water causes it to break. And as the shards drop from your hand to the sink, one cuts across the knuckle of your thumb or pointer finger, so your blood mixes with the pool of water waiting to go down the drain and out into the sewer, combining together and flowing beneath you, creating something like an abstract map of your own movement across the Earth's surface. And you come to regard these errors as a catalog of half-recalled embarrassments that you hold on to in quiet moments like these, because they reaffirm something you knew all along, but could never quite say. Something about the body's poverty, for example, or its lack of grace. Finally, for now, devoid of physical pain that you could only bear witness to in the vacancy of your own imagination. The approach of this future world, emptied of our presence, is slow enough. It could be easily confused with stillness. It's no longer a question of force, but of patience for this end that seems to always be on its way, but never any closer, such that this feeling called heaven, discovered in this distant annihilation, might have seemed to remain forever on the horizon, if it weren't precisely that in this feeling, we're able to recognize attenuated pleasure in the immediacy of each other's presence. As you sit here, listening to my voice, I want you to remember that there's a pleasure, a small pleasure, but a pleasure nonetheless, born of the desire to cultivate awareness of how little time is left, counting these minutes or hours together, and in doing so, feeling time become corporeal as we experience it in the company of each other. 1 minute, followed by another, understanding each as the second to the last, never more than we can handle, not yet. This feeling called heaven, or rather the acknowledgement that annihilation offers a kind of pleasure, only recognizable once finished or complete, that dissipates once it becomes the center of whatever little attention it can garner, a pleasure that dissipates not unlike the fog that dissolves as you wake in the morning, leaving a faint trace of condensation, visible off in the distance. It obscures your view as you make your way to the car or the subway or bus, or whatever temporary and enclosed environment carries you passively to your job. As you struggle to continue the difficult process of waking up, again, this feeling called heaven is a pleasure, only witnessed in the past tense and from a distance. The sense of annihilation or future death occurring now. A collective sense of something having already happened, far off, while you were paying attention to something else. Say, as you stand in the produce aisle of a grocery store, holding a sleeve of celery still wet from the overhead mister, and hear yourself unthinkingly singing along to whatever song is playing over the store's PA, something vaguely recalled, but which for the brief moment of its singing takes away the pain of a loved one or family member's passing, which you thought to have stained even this chore. And as you stop, the words no longer leave your lips, your mouth closes of its own accord, shamed for finding refuge in something as seemingly so inconsequential as a pop song, generic enough to find its way into the background of your attention. You return to a conscious awareness of your surroundings, the tiled floor beneath you and the fluorescent lights above. And as the environment returns, so too does the pain of their passing, the absence they created in your life. And as your attention returns, it brings with it an awareness of your own grief and its absence in that moment, a compacted nothingness that seems to repeat itself out and beyond this doubling, which increases in minute degrees of intensity, such that it pushes this pleasure you barely knew you were in the process of experiencing further beyond your cognitive grasp until it's gone. I wanted to show you something as an excuse to stay in your presence, or to put it as precisely as I can, to keep you here in my presence, or each in the presence of each other a little longer. With annihilation certain, it is only a question of love and this kind of minimal pleasure. I wanted to say something plainly so that you would understand. I wanted to say something directly to you, to address you as though I were holding your hand or looking into your eyes and saying something, so that it feels like I'm lying there next to you, my mouth close to your ear, whispering something that you felt but hadn't thought to say out loud. Because you didn't need to. Because it's something you've understood since before our time together, something you've known without needing to put into words. That it's not despite the destruction of the world that you're worthy of love, but because of it. Because you've helped to usher it in through these minor acts of annihilation and participation in this collective end, through what amounts to nothing other than participation in your own life. This material expenditure, which is often so mindless. Say, as you move through the aisles of a convenience store, picking up a granola bar or bottle of water, keeping your headphones in to block out the noise of the store beyond. You swipe your credit card at the self-service kiosk before exiting through the automatic doors. It's precisely that you can't help yourself. And it's this inability to stop that makes our own wordless sense of annihilation, in which we've come to understand this feeling called heaven, as the most human thing we know, and therefore the most deserving of love. Yes, it's precisely in these moments when you're at your most alone and isolated, lost in the slow expenditure of the minimal energy necessary to take part in your own life. It's when you move across the surface of a city, gliding from one job to the next, that you're most human and therefore the most lovable or deserving of love. Okay, and then I'm going to read the closing meditation of the book, which is a meditation on drowning and also, I guess, landscape, I suppose. So yeah, I'll just get started. We're almost done. I'd like you to close your eyes or lower your eyelids. Focus on the middle distance of the floor in front of you. I want you to get comfortable in your seat, or if you're standing, stand with your legs slightly wider than shoulder width apart, your feet firmly planted on the ground. And whether you're standing or sitting, you can feel a string that starts at your seat or the soles of your feet and runs up your tailbone, through your spine and out your head, up to the ceiling above. And as we begin, I want you to remember that all you're doing is preparation for the journey ahead, and that you're safe here. No one can hurt you. All you're doing is preparing for the journey ahead, and you're safe in the company of my voice. I want you to remember that violence is just information or decorative, like a video of lions and hyenas fighting over the carcass of a wildebeest or antelope or some other dead animal captured with night vision cameras projected on the wall and playing silently in the background. Or if this proves too distracting and takes away from your ability to focus on something other than the video, then I want you to visualize a still image projected on a sheet that hangs in front of the wall, moving slightly in the air conditioner's breeze. A screen-capped Google image of the sun reflecting off standing water. I want you to hold this image of the sun in your mind. And as you do, notice how it doesn't glitch, but moves in unison with the sheet. And in doing so, becomes not unlike nature, in that both are just immersive backdrops or non-mediums, like the human voice, or my voice, speaking out loud to you now, describing it in this bound method of procedure. My speaking to you now produces an image like the reflection of the sun, or more accurately, a space for your thoughts to inhabit as something to focus on, but only in the beginning, as my voice will prove more and more unnecessary as it begins to disintegrate into discrete regions of your mind, which you can visit for a time or not, and leave as you will. As I'm speaking to you, you'll begin to feel grounded, like you're resting comfortably on an empty platform, one that has been specifically prepared for you, but prepared poorly, or that the platform itself is barely visible, like the first plateau in an unexplored region of a video game. And as you reach the clearing, it begins to rain slightly. A fine mist covers the air. Now, as the water becomes general and covers this wretched thing we call our body, this vessel or vehicle, the pain it experiences, even its pleasures, your twitchings and convulsions, the spasms that involuntarily begin in the head, clouding your thoughts and bringing them too much into focus. As the pain radiates out to your limbs, as you sit on this bare expanse and the water begins to cover you, the pain and frustration, the sadness you first felt alone on this plateau, stretching out to the horizon, these feelings start to wash away. And as they leave you, your mind becoming empty and relaxed, you can start to feel each individual drop of water slowly trickle down your skin, joining the other drops, and their fall together to the plateau below. And feel the rivulets descending down your right and left sides as they pool around you, creating a greater intensity of wetness against your buttocks and thighs, as each drop joins its mate and forms this community, this pool of cool and pleasant water that washes away the pain and fear you live with each day. You begin to sense the presence of those who've gone on before you, as if moving on and shedding their vessels. They left behind a message written in water that caresses your skin and soaks your clothing, so you can no longer tell the difference between the rough cloth and the flesh it covers. In this water, you sense the presence of the anxieties they purged from themselves in moving on, giving up their bodies for a wholeness, not unlike the wholeness you feel at times when your own body disappears, say in a moment of great joy or despair. You're growing more and more aware of them as you listen to my voice, and the wind picks up and the rain falls harder as water lashes against this wretched thing we call our body, until you feel the skin of your right forearm begin to open to form a canyon that faces the sky and the falling rain. But instead of feeling pain, you feel a sense of deep calm. The muscles in your right arm, your blood and tendons open to the bone and greet the water as it falls against your body, collecting in the space it made for itself. And as it does, your blood flows from the open cut, spreading across the water, and you watch it turn a faint purple color, growing paler and paler, until any distinction between the blood from your vessel and the rain disappears. And as your blood ranges across the growing pool of water, you sense it mingling with the presence of those gone on before you. Alone on this plateau, you sense their presence and are assured with the fullness of their company. As the water rises up your thighs, covering you to your belly button, and as the water continues to rise, it covers the plateau, an infinity pool stretching out to the light gray sky, turning blue, and without a decrease in the rain that no longer falls, but seems to swell of its own accord, moving and caressing your body as the water reaches your chest and neck. It's as though the clothes you once wore have been stripped away and are no longer necessary. And as the water covers you, instead of feeling buoyant, you feel grounded. Instead of rising to the surface, you stay firmly seated on the plateau, an anchor in your mind or something that hovers just above the surface of your thoughts, rooting you to this world in the vehicle of your body. As the water rises over your head, reaching up to the same colored sky, both a light blue and turning slightly, as if in a clean glass bowl on an empty wooden table, mirroring the movement of the larger room around it. Feel your body now, sitting beneath the surface of this cool, clear liquid, and open your mouth to speak or breathe, to call out to those who've gone on before you. And I want you to remember that this is the time you've prepared for, and that you're ready. Remember your plans. You try to take a breath, but you can't until you stop trying and step out of this earthly vessel, like stepping through a door into another room. Only then can you rise up to the surface to find that your body has gone and your soul has become infinitely small, floating like a micro bead of plastic, riding the undulating surface of the water under a cloudless and crystal clear blue sky. And lost in the clarity of this thought, I want you to return to the room. And as you do, hold in your mind this image of microbeads floating together, a buoyant plastic fog spread across the water, an image of something you sensed all along, that you are perfect. In this journey you've prepared, stepping away from the plateau into the surrounding waters, requires no faith nor leader, no father nor mother, no system beyond the lives we are already living. This material action, our bright faces and warm smiles as we greet each other in the morning or say goodnight before bed, the very fact of our existence extends out towards our extinction as a pod of dolphins, arching their backs and moving their flukes vertically up and down to generate momentum in the neon blue water, propelling themselves forward and out of the waves and back again, framed by purple flames and the chants of those who came before, singing with one voice in the background. Okay, thank you.
Damn. I don't even know what to say, but bravo, Joey. I was reading a chat. I didn't realize everybody else wasn't going to see the chat I was reading. Suffice it to say, that was amazing. So still can't see any of you out there, but I would love just to feel assured that you're all standing up and going crazy one more time for Filip Marinovich and Joey Yearous-Algozin. Yeah, going crazy in our homes, invisibly to one another, but we can feel it. A feeling called everybody's clapping at home. That was amazing. I'm so excited. Oh, I meant to ask you, Tasso, do we have, it's kind of a long shot because this was such a great reading, but do we have a good segue reading coming up next week as well?
Wait, don't we have? Hold on. No. There's no way. There's no way we could be following up Filip Marinovich and Joey Yearous-Algozin with Tom Donovan and Katie Fowley. Is there?
Tom Donovan and Katie Fowley? No way. No way. Could we even get them?
Well, last reading I told you that I had some connections. And let's just say I use them for next reading as well.
Amazing. Well, I, for one, am going to tune in next week when it will be May Day, and we will be hearing from Tom Donovan and Katie Fowley, because that sounds fantastic. And at this point, I think people of the audience, you're going to begin to be made panelists, which means you will be able to turn your camera and microphone on, and you can express your admiration to our readers in the slightly less attenuated form of talking into your computer camera, which should be fun. Thank you both so much. What a fantastic reading.